Chapter 31, King of Wishful Thinking. I drove south from Michigan into Ohio. After 2 more hours on the road, I reached my destination. I hated Lima, Ohio. It was my least favorite city in the state. I made an exception that day. I'd been interacting online with an interesting couple. They wished to share intimacy with me. After a week of texting between the three of us, I made another exception: group intimacy. Normally, I flat out decline offers from couples. The couple in Lima was different. Both husband and wife were very much in love after 20 years of marriage. I understood my role in their dynamic. I was there to enhance the intimacy between the two of them. I wasn't there to spice up their sex life, and I wasn't going to be a tool for one of them to invoke jealousy in the other. Both the man and the woman were looking for me to be an enhancement to their already healthy, intimate dynamic. The couple was different in another way as well. Though both of them appeared as husband and wife in their daily lives, their roles switched in the bedroom. The husband, masculine in his daily routine and interactions, became the female in bed. He wore lingerie and makeup, he wore a wig, and he adapted the mannerisms of a submissive female. The wife, as womanly as she was in her day-to-day, donned the role of dominant male in the bedroom. She tied up her hair, she wore the outfit of a blue-collar worker, and she was in charge. Though masculinity and femininity are independent of dominant and submissive roles, the couple lived a standard role life outside of the bedroom. I met the husband at the front door of the house. He offered me a glass of iced tea as he led me to the kitchen, where he introduced me to his wife. The couple had asked me what foods I liked to eat in a message the previous day. The two of them invited me to help finish cooking. I set down my bag and I helped them finish cooking the tacos they planned to have for dinner that evening. The three of us talked about life as we ate the tacos: interests, goals, hopes, dreams. We touched on multiple subjects. Their humor was pleasant, their demeanor was kind and open. I felt welcome in their home. They discussed their lives, their children in college, their careers. I told them of my former career and of my current travels. I told them how I had just left Lansing, Michigan, and how I looked forward to the adventures yet to come. As we finished eating, our conversation switched to the subject of intimacy. The three of us cleaned up our dishes, and the couple invited me to join them in the bedroom. The wife took my hand and led me down a hallway. The husband followed behind us. We left the food on the island in the kitchen. 3 hours passed as the three of us shared intimacy in the couple's bedroom. At the wife's urging, I did things which the husband hadn't done before. I helped show them a new level of intimacy. The wife and the husband took turns watching as I interacted with the other. At times, all three of us engaged together. At one point, 3 hours into it, I became the one who watched as the spouses made love. I took that moment as my cue. I told the couple I had worked up an appetite. I then went back to the kitchen to eat more tacos. I sat at the kitchen table and looked out the sliding glass door into the backyard as I ate more food. 20 minutes passed while the husband and wife finished with each other in the bedroom. I finished eating as the two of them walked, smiling, into the kitchen to join me for more food. I had been part of various intimate experiences involving multiple partners. Those experiences mostly fell short of satisfaction. In my mind, true intimacy always involved 100% focus on a single person sharing the moment with me. 3 or more people together always felt distracted, like too much was going on to fully appreciate other people sharing the moment. That time in Lima, Ohio became a rare exception. A couple still very much in love with each other, still very much attracted to each other. A happy couple invited me to share a small part of their love for each other. I smiled as I bid them farewell and I walked out the door. I was happy to share in that experience that day. I checked my phone when I reached my car. Tim had sent me the location of his hotel in Columbus. I set the address in my GPS and I left my least favorite city in Ohio. I decided to drive east before heading west. I took I-70 to Columbus, where Tim had been staying in a hotel. As I drove east on the interstate, my phone rang. I answered it. A recorded voice began reciting words. "You have a collect call from the Shiawassee County." I hung up before I heard the remainder of the message from the jail up in Michigan. Dan was trying to reach me. Dan's lies and deceit had burned that bridge. Brittany previously told me of a wild night earlier in the week which landed Dan in jail. I was in no position to bail him out, even if he hadn't done what he had done over the prior few months. Since Dan had been lying to me the entire year, I had no desire to accept his phone call. Before leaving Lansing, I found out Dan had lied to me continuously as he ran up a $2,000 tab for drugs. He went as far as to forge a letter from the IRS which stated his tax refund had a delay. That after he had promised instant payback upon his receipt of his tax refund. I called Dan out on his lies on an earlier phone call. He then admitted he already received and spent his tax return. He had strung me along for weeks. He took advantage of my trust in him. I no longer wished to help him. I stuck my phone back to the Velcro on my steering wheel. I texted Tim. I told him to send me his room number. I was set to arrive in the Columbus area within the hour. Tim texted me the room number. I turned my attention back to the road for the remainder of the drive. Tim had been staying at a Sheraton in Columbus for 2 weeks when I arrived there to see him. After I took a shower, I told him to text his plug. Due to coronavirus, the drug market had become unreliable. Though I weathered much of the storm, I had heard talk of entire regions inflating their prices or running completely dry. The pandemic affected some of my sources, so I decided to reach out to Tim. I didn't have a source in Columbus, Ohio, but Tim did. I agreed to the coronavirus markup, and we left to go meet Tim's guy in an apartment complex, a location which I had never before been. Tim left the car. I remained in the driver's seat. After a couple of tense minutes, Tim walked back over to the car and got in. That meeting with Tim's guy was one of the last steps in my plan to vacate the Midwest. Tim and I spent the remainder of that night getting high in the hotel room. When I left the next morning, I told him that I would see him in about a week when I passed through Columbus again on my way west. I plan to spend the week visiting friends in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. I'll still be at the Sheraton. Hopefully, I'll be in an upgraded club-level suite by then. I look forward to the upgrade. I'll see you then. Tim's wish had been granted when I arrived back in Columbus. While he moved his belongings to the new room on the top floor of the hotel, I wired a new amplifier into the trunk of my car down in the hotel's parking lot. Tim came outside and handed me my new spare keycard. Our keycards not only worked to unlock the hotel room, but they also gave us access to a private club and dining area on the top floor of the hotel. I was excited to explore the club level and suite in the hotel. The elevator only had buttons for 8 of the floors of lodging. As Tim and I stepped into the elevator, the doors closed behind us. I scanned my keycard on the pad inside the elevator. A new floor number lit up on the screen. The elevator took us up to floor 9. When Tim and I stepped from the elevator, nobody else was on the floor. We stopped at our suite so I could put my bags inside. I took a few minutes to survey the suite. There were 2 king-size bedrooms, a living room area, an entertainment area, and 2 bathrooms in our hotel suite. The entertainment area came complete with a fully stocked bar. It was a shame that neither Tim nor I drank alcohol, though the bar itself made a perfect setup to prepare Crystal. Tim's belongings were all in a bedroom on one side of the suite. I set my bags on the bed in the other bedroom on the opposite side of the unit. The 2 of us left the room to explore the exclusive floor of our hotel. As we walked the hallways, we realized we were the only people staying on the top floor. Tim scanned a key card on the door to the club-level entertainment area. The nightclub entertainment area on that floor of the hotel looked like it was ready to host a banquet or a wedding reception. I recorded some videos in the empty luxury area. Tim and I wandered through the rooms. The 2 of us hung out in there for a bit. As the sun began to set that evening, we headed back to our suite to order food from the front desk. The 2 of us did drugs as we waited for our food to arrive at our door. As we ate, I received a message from a woman who lived a few blocks from our hotel. She was a pretty African-American lady who messaged me after she arrived home from work. She sought a no-strings-attachment encounter that evening. I told her I would be over in 20 minutes. The lady told me to walk in. The door would be unlocked. She would be naked. I let Tim know I was stepping out for a short bit. True to her word, the door to the apartment was unlocked. I walked into the lady's home. True to her word again, she was naked in her bed. She was beautiful. I had no reservations as I saw her, though I did have an issue. I had just injected a hefty dose of Crystal right before I left the hotel suite. Though I was thoroughly aroused as the lady and I began to kiss, I knew I wasn't going to be able to perform. The lady earlier expressed in a text message that she wanted me inside her. I told her I needed to make a compromise. I let her know that I wasn't going to be able to fill her up in that particular way. I also informed her of my prowess with my mouth. I guaranteed her satisfaction. After about a half hour, my new friend enthusiastically confirmed I have gone above and beyond what she could have hoped. The lady wrapped herself in a bedsheet as I dressed. She walked me to the front door. "When's as soon as you can come and see me again?" "Well, I'm about to head out west, probably tomorrow morning. I'm not sure when I'll be back in the Midwest, but I'll get a hold of you next time I'm back." We kissed again before I walked out into the night. I drove the 2 blocks back to the hotel with a smile on my exhausted lips. I was back in Lansing. A mix of unusual feelings swirled in my brain as I stepped from my car into the early morning Lansing air. I had left Tim's club-level suite in the middle of the night. I had driven through the darkness of early morning and reached Lansing as the sun first began to evaporate the fog from the streets. The pickup truck was still parked on the road across from the house. It had been sitting there for a few weeks. I previously stopped by the residence and recovered my car's air conditioning charging hose from the front seat of that pickup truck. On that instance, I noted at least 3 glass stems lying on the front bench seat. There was residue coating the insides of the pipes, residue from smoking methamphetamine. The pickup truck belonged to a woman Dan knew. Though Dan was in jail, the pickup truck was still parked in the road. The girl who owned the truck still hadn't been able to locate it. Dan had used the truck to commit a crime, and the woman's truck remained there where it sat since Dan was arrested at the house. I knocked on the door and waited. I knocked again. The door opened and I stepped inside. I had been outside that particular house on multiple occasions. I had even hung out there before, but just not inside the house. As the front door closed behind me, I noted to Brittany how it was odd that the truck was still sitting there on the street in front of her house. Brittany shrugged as we walked to her living room. It was still morning as my final business in Lansing concluded. That particular business normally wouldn't have been worth taking the out-of-the-way drive. Since I'd always liked Brittany, I made the trip for her that day. I stepped back into my car and pulled from Brittany's driveway in the mid-morning. It was an odd mix of feelings that morning. I felt relief. I was finally at the point of leaving. I felt sadness. Despite the drama and stress, I knew I was going to miss many of the people in Lansing, Michigan. I felt nostalgic. I had many important moments and good times during the stretch of time with Lansing as my jump-off point for travel. I felt excited. The unknown and unexplored world beyond the Midwest was in my view. My anxiety consumed me as I drove through the surface streets of Lansing. I knew I was literally moments away from leaving that chapter of my life behind. I felt it was the perfect time for catastrophe to impede my exit. All the work I did to separate myself from all the negative events which took place around me during that time, I hoped I could manage those last couple of miles in those last couple of minutes, incident-free, before my life could reset. I reached the ramp to the interstate. I scanned the road in front of me. Hyper-vigilant, I checked my mirrors in all directions. I pushed my foot down, and the gas pedal of my Lexus sank to the floor. I blasted off. The crystal ran through my veins. It was overtaken by adrenaline. The anxiety washed through and out of me on that highway, and it stayed behind me in my past. My anxiety stayed in Lansing, Michigan. Though I didn't have a clue what was to become of my life from that day on, I knew it would be nothing like I had experienced. The entire eastern half of the United States was, at that point, essentially my backyard. I knew it thoroughly. I could find my way anywhere based solely on recollection. I had been to so many places so many times, the roads, the cities, the notable locations, the routes and alternate routes, the markers, the destinations, the best ways through cities and places based on traffic conditions or construction, the most scenic or leisurely paths, or the most time-efficient directions, the ways to avoid tolls, or reach out-of-the-way secret locations. I had mastered driving the entire eastern half of the country. But out west, there were still 9 states which I had yet to visit. I decided something right then. That trip, upon its completion, would end with 49 of the 50 United States holding memories of times I spent exploring them.